Day, everyone.
Yeah, now.
Okay.
Go ahead, Father.
Good day, everyone. It's Father Martin Padovani, again, priest and psychologist, and I'm here to move away from some of my um, my talks that I was giving, and I'm going to move into more of a social, political type of thing, and basically want to come up with a better understanding for our people about uh, uh, the the issue of Marxism, communism. I am just really quite surprised how so many people in our country are not really aware of how evil and destructive communism is. It's been with us now for almost 100 years, and it controls and dominates millions and billions of people. And we here in the United States, some of the people must live in a dreamland that they don't understand the power and destructiveness of communism. It's evil. It's definitely tied up with the devil and controlling people. That is not the way God made us to live. And Jesus came to free us, but we also have to do the work of understanding the evil of communism. The fact that so many people are turning to it and hoping that this is going to be the great solution to all of our problems, when really it opens the door to being controlled by the government, and they become God. They become the father of the family. They become the people who control us. And do you want to be controlled? Well, then vote communism. Look at the situation in China, Russia, North Korea, and these other countries that have communism. It's absolutely a disaster. It's not only a disaster, it's, some of these countries are like slave countries, especially North Korea. I had the opportunity to talk to some of our seminarians who came from Vietnam, which is a communist country. It's not as bad as China, but it's pretty bad. They control everything. Just for example, if you go to college, you got to spend the first 2 years just learning about communism. And then you can have a subject that you want to stay in. And I've asked a number of them, now, if you don't follow through with the priesthood and you leave, are you going back home? Of course not. That's a prison. It's absolutely terrible. We're just controlled by the government, and the way of life is so changed. Why would people want to go in there? And the the people in that country, it's bad, but the communism in China is much worse. That one of our professors that was teaching a secular subject, uh, and as a priest, he had a job in one of the colleges, and they don't recognize him as a priest, but as a professor. And every so often, he may talk to some of the students and say, "Well, what do you think of the government, and how do you think like this country?" And they kind of laugh and giggle because nobody's going to say what they really think, because that message and somehow will get to the local authorities, and you're in big trouble after that. So this is the type of country that really is absolutely unbelievable. Like in a little town, they saw the cemetery and they wanted that property. And so in the cold of night, they came with their equipment, dug up all the graves. They never know where they put them. And that's the way they do it. It's not what you think. They don't ask you. They do it. It's things like this that are so ridiculous and so destructive to the human person. The human person has no meaning. The human person has no ability to be who he is or she is. The human person is nothing more than a part of the state. And they promise happiness and all that. There's no happiness there. And that's one of the better and easier countries. Look at Russia. After all these years, the people have not been able to overcome the Russian government and make it more democratic. It's not impossible. Once they take hold of a country, that's it. And that's what we have to watch out here in America. Wake up, America. Open your eyes and look around the world at the communist countries. Talk to people that come from those countries. I talked to the seminarians who came from there, and it was absolutely horrendous. And how some of them escaped by boats and every which way to get out of there. Recently, the Smithsonian in Washington, which is supposed to give the history of America and all that it's all about, they were found to be changing the historical message. That's not the proper thing to do. In fact, it's an evil thing. They want to give us a history that they think happened, not what actually happened. And so now the government is having its investigation and beginning to realize, hey, we got to change this. But how many of these things happen in a country like this and we don't realize it? And what about the teachers in the secular colleges that are teaching communism and have, twisted the minds of your children about that? And then the troubles we've had because of that, because a lot of them come out of there less American and with these other ideas. The communist message is a lie. It's a control. It's making you conform to what they want. They don't care what you want. They want what they want. So these are the things that we have to be aware about and do some reading and understanding about this before it's too late. The fact that we have a liberal government in New York City today is socialism. We step to communism because Mondani is not just a socialist, he is a communist. And now that he's got in, he's trying to control everything. And he's got those people living on some sort of a la la land drink and changing their minds. Yeah, he wants to control everything. Will we ever get him out of that position now? That's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens because he is already, changed the mind of so many people, brainwash them, and they're not bright enough, stupid, that they even get those promises they have are going to come through. Yeah, that's when the moon is going to turn purple. They don't have that kind of conversation there. And so I think it's important to kind of realize that being in America, which may not always be to your liking in some things, but it's absolutely small potatoes compared to what communism would do to this country. We will not have the country that you think that we have today. You may complain about Trump and this and that. That's peanuts compared to what the communists would do. They are not beyond of controlling, killing. In both these countries, China and Russia, they have killed millions and millions of people who did not conform to their edicts and their. Let's be honest about this, that people, no matter how bright they seem to be, when it comes to understanding communism, they don't have it. I remember when I was 10 years old and the Second World War was going on. I used to follow it vigilantly every day, every country, what was happening, and knew everything about it, knew about communism, so on and so forth. And all these years, we in the church, the Catholic Church, way back when I was a kid, and it went for about 20, 30 years, after the end of Mass on Sunday and during the week, we used to pray for the conversion of Russia. We don't do that anymore. Our minds have softened, our brains are twisted, and we've bought in, oh, they can't be too bad. Talk to the people who've been lived in those countries and know what it's all about. Read about communism. Read about the terrible things that go on in Russia. You would be surprised. And so many of our children that came out of college with their brains twisted because of this. And parents are wondering, what happened to my son and my daughter in the thousands of dollars we had to put in to get them educated, and their brains are now twisted in what communism is and negative on democracy of our country. We are in dangerous times. We need to take responsibility for our country, and we need to be able to kind of realize to put a stop to this crazy nonsense that is going on. Their brains have been controlled by the media and all these other people who want to help America and are destroying America. We, again, may not have a perfect country, but it's way beyond most of the others. And it lasted 250 years. And the sad thing is, look at the time we celebrated this year, 250 years of this country. We had to tone down everything because so many people are negative on America. They're not. They're negative on America because they are ignorant and they have anger about a lot of things, about justice and what they should be getting and the jobs they have and so on and so forth. Look how they have torn apart the president. He may not be the best one we have. You may not like him for a lot of reasons, that's for sure. But he certainly loves America, and he certainly is trying to preserve us from the danger of communism, which is so relevant today and has taken the ignorance of the people. The worst people we have to worry about in this are not the enemies over there in the other countries. We have to worry about the people who have been tainted to have some belief in communism, and many that have already turned over. Look at the people that have gone to socialism, which is one step away from going to communism. Read about it. Talk to people that live in these countries. I talk to these seminarians, and my hair stands on end when I hear that. They got out of there by boats and everything. Hell. And we don't understand it. We can be responsible for being citizens of this country and do what we have to do to make it better, but not these people we're putting up now for. They've taken over the Democratic Party in many ways that are selling themselves and selling you a bill of goods, and you owe it to yourself, You owe it to the country to be a responsible person and realize the dangers and the threat of communism and of these people who walk around with these crazy ideas to get rid of, the court and the party and the House. It's just too bad that we've come to this terrible situation at this point. Christ preached to us about freedom. And St. Paul says Christ came to free us. These situations of communism and socialism, they are the farthest thing away from Christ. If we are Catholic and we are Christian, you have to say, do I really believe in Christ if I'm giving in to these people who want to control us? And they are the head of the family, not the parents. They rule the country. They rule the kids. And in North Korea, it's so bad that sometimes the children, testify against the parents. What a horrible situation that must be. And so let us look at the downfall of all of this. And sometimes we have to be pretty adamant in understanding a lot of this. And the indifference that we find by so many of our people in this country is really sickening. It's like the Bible says, I will spit you out because you are not hot or cold, you are lukewarm, and you have given in and drinking the Kool-Aid that they've given to you. And many of the stations are not standing up for the country the way we should. We have to take a personal responsibility. Stop leaving it in the hands of the politicians. You are in charge. You have to speak up to the politicians, and not this indifference we have in this country, which is sickening. And not only that aspect, but the ignorance about our country and the downplaying. We celebrated 250 years in a shadow, in pain. And if you're really dedicated to the country, a serious worry about where we're going, and we're not going in the right direction. It can change quicker than you think it can. And so the indifference has to change, and we have to turn to the scriptures. The scriptures have nothing about this kind of government. This is all made up by evil people. The devil runs communism, and that's the way it is, and the way people are treated. Every day, we should be watching the falling of our buildings and our country with its problems called America. The fact that we couldn't even celebrate the way we should, what a disgrace. What a disgrace. In my day, I knew everything about the Second World War. I followed in the country with everything. I followed the politics. I voted according to what I thought was the best. I uses Christ as an example. They want to hear nothing about Christ. He's just a sick person, and and they try to block it out. And in China, the Catholic Church is watched and guarded, and some of the bishops have already given in to the Catholic Church of China, and the government controls them. So this is enough should make you realize. And so when the total collapse of happiness and freedom and the ability to have free speech and to disagree with one another and build a country, this can be a dream. And so whether we are Democratic or whether we are Republican, we must come back. It's important for the country, and the people we elect have to change and realize they are not the ones that are going to tell us what to do. We tell them what we want. But that is something that seems to people in Washington, they are voting and doing things that are contrary to what the people voted in them for. And so when people use all sorts of excuses and dancing around the real issues, it just shows they don't know what's going on in the country. And they are allowing the things to change within us. This country is unique. There'll never be another country like this. And to be responsible, we all have to take responsibility for the country. And if you don't know how to vote, or you don't know who to vote for, or you don't care, don't vote, because you're a hindrance to the peace that we have. And so many people should not vote because they're so ignorant about what they're voting for. They can't make a healthy judgment on who the right person is. And these are things that we have to do. We sin by our indifference and by our ignorance and by not understanding what this is all about. So the story of America is in our hands, and the story of a better America is also in our hands. And so we don't have to read the tea leaves or go to a fortune teller about what's happening. We just have to open our eyes and see what's going on. The country is split. We are fighting each other. The enemy is within us. The fear of these other countries is really not the great fear of our countries. Even though we're battling Iran, that is an important area because to not only our country and to the Jewish people, but they're a threat to the whole world. Iran has one of the most basic, fundamental uh, ideas behind their teaching as Muslims: destroy the Jews in America and destroy anybody that doesn't believe in Allah. And the group of Muslims in that country are the hardcore. That's why Trump can't make a peace treaty with them, because they lie and you can't trust them. And this is why it's so difficult. They had on their plans, which the government has, to destroy with these tremendous nuclear bombs. They without any mercy at all. Look how they lie and deal with it. Look how the people have suffered over there. Muslimism, they're both destructive. And we must, again, take responsibility of being knowledgeable about this and making sure that we do not succumb to them. So I am going to close for today, and we'll be back next week when I will continue the talks on this. And I just hope you think over some of these things. Imagine at 10 years old, I knew what communism was. I remember praying in the church at the end of Mass for the conversion of Russia. I remember how many people, Christians, they killed and destroyed, and how they tolerate it all. It's all in their game plan, and get to know them and get to know how bad it is. Talk to people who've come from those countries. They'll set you out and they'll help you to be free by realizing we need to support our country. We need to support our church, because our church is going to suffer tremendously. They hate Christianity, and above all, they hate the Catholic Church. Let us turn to the Lord and ask for his mercy, his guidance, his wisdom, and his strength for us to speak up and take responsibility for our country and help it to become the gem that we have always said it was, and the freedom that is promised to us by the Statue of Liberty. God bless you. We'll see you next week. Amen.